So it's getting pretty cold up in the northern hemisphere, so we're going to be making these slow cooked meals without any meat or dairy. We've got a beautiful bolognese, a wonderful vegan mac and cheese, and an awesome Kung Pao chickpea.
He's got budget meals for families, delicious new recipes. Bring your friends over, let's make it and share. It's Nico's Kitchen, where satisfying meals are prepared.
So firstly, the bolognese, and I love this because it's a real chunky style vegetable bolognese. It's meat-free, dairy-free, and you can have it, look, you can chop the vegetables up any way you want. I like things a little bit chunky. Like me, I like things a little bit chunky. If you want them diced up smaller, then go for it. But I like things chunky in the slow cooker because they release their water sort of more gently. If you dice them up really small and then put everything in, you're losing a lot of the flavour. Now this first part is completely optional. You don't have to do this, but I was at a farmer's market and I saw these tomatoes and they were just screaming at me to take them home. Look at them. Look how cute and beautiful and red they are. They just wanted me to cook them. And using fresh tomatoes in this bolognese really gives this whole dish a freshness. But you can use canned tomatoes if you want to. So I don't want the skin on the outside, and this is the easiest way to peel tomatoes, is get some hot, boiling water. Well, of course it's hot, it's boiling. Welcome to 2019, nothing's changed. So into some boiling water, pop in the tomatoes, just gently pop them in. I keep them on the vine, purely just acting as a handle. They're just easy to pop in and pop out. And only keep them in there for 30 seconds. And then take them out and then plunge them into an ice bath, which is just water and some ice blocks. And just pop them in there and leave them in there for, again, another 30 seconds. You'll actually start to see them start to split the skin just slightly. So take them out, peel the skin, it's just take them right off, it'll just come off. And then I'm gonna cut the stems off and then I'm gonna chop them in half. And I don't want the inside seeds. If you get some seeds, that's fine. Now it's as simple as just grabbing the slow cooker and putting everything in the one pot. So start off with the skinned tomatoes, and then I've got some diced onion, some garlic, some celery, some carrots, a red bell pepper or capsicum, some chili flakes, season with a little bit of salt and pepper, pop a bay leaf, and then to really enhance and enrich this dish, I pop in some tomato paste, and it gives that real flavour punch. So just give everything a mix around, get all combined nice and well, and then pop it on. And you can put it on low, leave it all day, or pop it on high, and you can leave it for 4 to 6 hours and it will be done. And serving it is so simple. I'm using some spaghetti, but you could use any pasta that you've got in the cupboard. And when you lift off the lid, have a look. It is just gorgeous. It is chunky, it is thick, it is juicy, it is everything you want out of a bolognese, minus the meat, obviously. Now what I do with the pasta after I've drained it is I just give it a little bit of a drizzle of olive oil, and then I give it some of the bolognese that I've made up, mostly the sauce, just to get all those noodles covered in the sauce. And that way it doesn't stick, that way every piece of pasta is really flavorful and there's no bland, boring bits. And right at the end, just to give it a real kick of freshness, I stir in some fresh basil that I've just roughly torn. Don't go to town on the basil, otherwise you will bruise it really badly. Just roughly break it up with your fingers and pop it in. Stir it around, it'll wilt down, but the flavors will just perfume through that entire mix. So pasta on the plate, serve it with the vegetable bolognese, and then just top it with some fresh basil as well. And have a look at it. It is absolutely stunning. It's gorgeous. It tastes amazing. It's good for you, and it's cheap to do. And it is obviously just so easy to do in the slow cooker, and no meat and no dairy. Now this next one, whenever I mention the V word, it's a little bit controversial. I don't know why. I mean, vegans, vegetarians, carnivores, can't we all just get along? But I tell you what, this mac and cheese is really delicious, and it's mac and cheese without the cheese. I am not using one of those vegan cheese products. I'm going to be doing my own thing. And I've been thinking, how do I get that creaminess and that sort of nutty cheese flavour that you do get in a homemade mac and cheese? And I thought, boom, I know what I need. I need a squash, a butternut pumpkin or a butternut squash, and I also need cashews, which are going to give me that nice nutty flavour. So what I do, into the slow cooker, very simple, I put in some diced squash, some cashews. Now I'm using unsalted roasted cashews, and they're roasted because, again, I want that intensity of flavour. Next, some red onion, which not only gives it a sweetness, but it also gives it a little bit of a bite and heat to it as well. A pinch of nutmeg, which just goes so well with the squash, unbelievably helps it really intensify that flavour, and it just gives it a nice little aroma to it as well. It's very, very subtle, so you won't even taste it. Season with some salt and pepper, and then I'm putting on some mustard. Now I'm using a vegan-friendly American mustard. Don't use Dijon or the whole grain mustards or anything like that. You want that yellow colour, but also the flavour, and it adds to the creaminess to it as well. Give it a little swell of olive oil, and then hit it with some vegetable stock. So leave it all day. That's 8 hours to 10 hours, depending on how long you work for on low. Or if you need it a little bit quicker, you want to turn it up to high, and it will do the same job in 4 to 5 to 6 hours. So once it's cooked, you'll see it's all starting to soften. Even those cashews have started to soften slightly, and they've absorbed all those great flavours. Now what you want to do, and it's perfectly safe, if you haven't got one of these, it's fine. I'll tell you about an alternative in a minute, but I've just got a stick mixer. I'm putting it straight into the slow cooker. I've turned it off, obviously, and I'm just going to blend it up until it's all smooth. If you don't have a stick blender, you can just use a blender, you know, put it all in, done. So get it to a really nice smooth consistency, as smooth as you can. And then in the meantime, what I want you to do is cook off your pasta. Now, I didn't have any macaroni here, but what I did have was the little elbow pasta, which is fairly similar. And I actually quite like it because, again, it's chunkier than the macaroni. I find macaroni tends to just dissolve and get a bit gloopy in your mouth, but I like the larger elbow pasta. So drain off the pasta and then pour over that mac and cheese sauce and give it a good mix around, and oh my goodness, it is so creamy, it is so good, and it smells amazing. You want to win someone over with this and tell them it's a vegan recipe, this is the one to do it with. So the other slow cooker dish I've got for you, I absolutely love. It is one of my personal favourites. It is Kung Pao chickpea. So you're all familiar with Kung Pao chicken. This removes the chicken part, keeping the same principles, but we're adding chickpeas instead. Now in this dish, the chickpeas take on a really hearty, sort of almost chicken type consistency in terms of how you eat it. So we're going to make the marinade first, and into a bowl you're going to be adding in some soy sauce, salt reduced, some sesame oil, some maple syrup, you could put honey if you wanted to, some garlic powder, some dried ginger, onion powder, red pepper flakes, and season with some pepper and salt. Give it a good mix around, let those flavours get all friendly with each other and get nice and close and romantic. And then you want to leave it on the counter for only about 5 minutes. You don't have to leave it for hours and hours and hours. Next, into the slow cooker, I'm going to add in my chickpeas. Now these are just out of a can. I've drained them, washed them, straight in. A red bell pepper that I've just finely diced up, or a capsicum, some spring onion or scallions that I've just diced up, and then pour over that beautiful Kung Pao marinade. And I'm telling you, the smells coming off this thing are amazing. Just give it a good mix around. That beautiful colour of that marinade will just start to move around with the chickpeas, and you can see the chickpeas start to take on a little bit of a darker colour to them. And this is literally taking like 5 minutes to do. Like, you can have this done in the pot, ready to go, straight out the door for work in under 5 minutes, seriously. There is literally no excuse to say, I don't know what I'm having for dinner, or I'll just get takeout, or I'll just get Uber Eats, or I'll just get this. No, make it at home. So same deal, low for 7 to 8 hours, high for about 4 to 6, completely up to you, and then take it off and have a look. Those chickpeas really hold their shape. They don't go soggy, they don't crumble or anything like that. But what they do is absolutely intensify in flavour. They've taken on that Kung Pao marinade. So give everything a stir, and then very simply we're going to serve this with some rice, sprinkle over some sesame seeds, some extra spring onion and scallion to serve, and you, my friends, have a delicious dinner for the family that is cheap, that is full of flavour, and it is meat and dairy free. All 3 of these are amazing. You could serve this in your shoe and it would still taste good. You know I'll be back with more recipes. Until then, get stuck into those bad boys, hit the like and share button with your family and friends, and I'll see you next time for another recipe. Because that's what we're doing now, we're doing more recipes. Not just one in a video, we're doing multiple of them. All right, good night. Jeepers.